So today I wanted to show you guys how I feed my Japanese maple trees. I use a deep sea kelp extract with a little bit of the fish fertilizer, Alaska fish fertilizer in the concentrated form. I would highly recommend following label instructions. I believe that for the Alaska fish fertilizer you use 1 to 4 tablespoons per gallon for the trees. I usually stick closer to 1 or 2 tablespoons per gallon just because I'm not trying to boost my Japanese maples with a whole lot of nitrogen. As far as the seaweed kelp extract, I think we do about 1 to 1.5 ounces or so per gallon. And as I say, read label instructions because I'm not sure if you're using the same stuff I'm using. That's why I'm not even showing what I'm using. I'm just telling you what I use. So before you go in and you start filling up your watering can, make sure to read the label instructions. Another thing you can do to feed your trees is instead of using anything from the box stores or, just using something out of a bottle or of a box, you can actually make what's called compost tea. So if you guys would like to see a tutorial on how to make compost tea for your trees or your garden, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video on how I make compost tea. And I have really good success with the compost tea. It's full of mycorrhizal fungi and all the beneficial microbes that the trees don't typically get to see, especially in their pots. So we're feeding the soil, and that helps feed the trees the nutrients that they need. So before you come in and feed your trees, you're going to want to go around and water each tree pretty generously to make sure all the roots are wet and ready to absorb nutrients, because if you have any dry roots, they're not going to really be able to absorb nutrients the way that wet roots would. So I'd imagine you can get about 10 fully potted trees fed from each 2.5 gallon watering can. That's what I'd imagine. So it's typically about what I get. And I just come in here and after watering the trees, give them a good drench of nutrients. The deep sea kelp extract with the Alaska fish compost. And the reason I don't do this right after I transplant my trees is because it's kind of an over shock on the trees when you go ahead and do some root correcting, repotting, and then come in and all of a sudden you're feeding them. It's going to cause root burn, leaf burn, fertilizer burn. So you've got all these roots that are exposed to fresh soil, and then they're trying to grow new roots. As those new roots grow, you burn them with nutrients. Even nutrients that say non-burning, you could still burn them if you're feeding them right at the time or shortly right after transplanting the trees. So I'd say you could come in and do this about every couple weeks in your potted trees. Some potted trees have that slow release fertilizer Osmocote in it, but I don't personally use Osmocote in my trees. I just keep them on a regular feeding schedule. And you can do as you please with your trees is kind of what I would recommend. This is just how I feed them. I come in here and feed them like this every about 2 to 3 weeks. So really the main thing is making sure you're watering your trees before feeding them, because if you just come in and feed dry roots, it's really not going to do anything for your trees. I'm sorry. It's pretty simple, really. It's just a matter of keeping them on a regular feeding schedule. That way they have nutrients in the soil. Each time you water a potted tree, they're losing nutrients that's in the soil. So that's the difference of trees that are in pots versus trees that are in the ground, is that the trees in the ground you don't have to feed as often. You're only going to be coming in and feeding those about probably once every 6 months versus once every 2 to 3 weeks, because in a 2 to 3 week period of time during the growing season, you're watering quite a bit if you're on a regular watering schedule, which would lead to the nutrients soaking out of the pots. So definitely come in and feed your trees. They'll appreciate you for it. When it comes to Japanese maple trees, or really any trees that are growing in the ground, you really just want to make sure, whether they're in the ground or in the pot, you come in and you water the ground really thoroughly before you start feeding. So that's what I'll do here, is I'll just come in and water. And I don't like using anything that's aggressive with water, and as far as like a jet stream or a nozzle that's going to be hitting the ground real hard. So definitely make sure whatever you're watering with is gentle on the surface. That way you're not blasting water away from the tree's roots. So when you water a tree, you definitely want to make sure that you're coming in and watering around the drip line of the tree so you can promote root growth away from the tree's roots. So make sure of that. I always see people watering like the very base of the tree, but the only way to promote deep root growth and supportive root growth is actually, over the course of time, watering farther and farther away from the trees. So come in here, water real good, and then we'll start to feed the tree here pretty quickly. And you actually feed a tree that's in the ground a lot more than you would potted trees. So we'll actually be using about like 3/4 of one of the watering cans just for this one tree, because we're feeding a lot more surface area and soil. So just remember that. So once you get your tree that's in the ground watered in real thoroughly, you're going to come in and just feed right around the tree's drip line, and make sure that you're covering good surface area, not just feeding in one spot. I like to come in here and go all the way around the tree's drip line, and may just end up using this whole watering can worth of feed just to make sure that the tree's getting nice deep penetrating nutrients.